Um, and then others will be joining us. Um, Again, good morning and welcome to Black in the AM. My name is Angela Gibson Shaw. I serve as the president of Black. And welcome to How to Contract with California Utilities Part 2. The topic for this special workshop today is RFIs, RFPs. What's the difference? How do I respond and submit to them? This is just another key step in learning about contracting with utilities. And today's workshop is hosted by SoCal Gas. We've got a great program lined up for you this morning, but before we get started, for those of you that don't know, Black is dedicated to the growth and development of Black-owned businesses in the greater Los Angeles area. We produce technical workshops, we heavily advocate at the local, state, and federal level, and we provide access to capital and other financial resources. And more importantly, we create opportunity, access, and entrance to networking environments so that you're able to meet key influencers and those folks that can change your lifestyle. I understand that's what it's all about, right? Upgrading your lifestyle. So before we get started, or as we're getting started, let's do a little virtual networking. So those of you that have joined us, please put your name, company, and contact information in the chat box there at the bottom of the screen. And so let's see who's in the room. You never know, somebody might need something you have. And so this is also where we'll be putting our questions during the program. If it comes to you, you don't want to forget it, just put it down there in the chat box, and frequently throughout the morning, we'll go down there and get the questions and answer them, or we may have stop and take a few moments live. And so we'll certainly be monitoring the chat box. I'd like to give a shout out to our GLAC staff who coordinate today's programs. That's Ms. Naomi Scott, who's our operations director, and Chanel Frampton, who is our program director. Thank you guys. Thanks both of you for all of your hard work. All righty, so let's get started. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Vaughn Williams III, the event sponsor and program manager of supplier diversity for SoCal Gas. In this capacity, he is responsible for ensuring the advancement of small minority and underrepresented businesses. Over the last 18 years of his career in management, he's had the distinct honor of implementing several manuals and is very versed, considered a subject matter expert on resource planning, career strategies, workplace etiquette, human management, along with moderating various national panels on the topics of procurement and supplier diversity. Vaughn currently resides in Los Angeles, enjoys outdoor recreational activities. Vaughn, what's your sign?
Taurus.
All right, great. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And I present from SoCal Gas, Vaughn Williams III for some special greetings.
Well, thank you, Angela, for that introduction, and good morning, GLAC participants. It's my honor to be here today, and I count it a privilege to be amongst this aggregation of distinguished leaders, business owners, and future contract holders with various utilities. Let me just say this. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for people like you who fuel the fire of the community. You help to not only eradicate poverty, but you help to emulate what should be the norm, which is growth in the community. Your presence signifies not only a brighter tomorrow, but it signifies your dedication to the community, to economic development, economic empowerment, but most of all, your own vision, your own thirst for growth, and your own desire to succeed. Angela told you who I was. I am Vaughn Williams III. I'm a program manager in supply diversity here at SoCal Gas. SoCal Gas is one of the largest gas utilities in North America. And the last time I checked, we were serving about 22 million Californians. I manage several portfolios ranging from environmental and engineering to accounting, finance, IT, and staff augmentation. I dabble in fleet also, and additionally, I'm responsible for all of the technical assistance programs that we do throughout the state of California. So it's my honor to not only serve you in this capacity, but let me just let you know that it's my passion to serve you. I wouldn't do this job just for the simple sake of a title. It's something that I actually live for each and every day. Before I go any further, let me just say, GLAC, we thank you and we commend you for your works in the community. You know, Don, Ed, and I were having some conversations about thriving CBOs in the state of California. And the first one that came to mind was GLAC, because GLAC is innovative. GLAC is not only providing opportunities for businesses to succeed, but they're creating avenues for you to engage, to learn, to navigate, and basically to grow. So GLAC, before I even talk anything else, I just want to give you a clap, a round of applause, because it's your efforts that make us do what we do. It's because of you that our fire is fueled even more. SoCal Gas has been doing this for about 40 plus years. And in those 40 plus years, we've had some highs and some lows. But what we find most rewarding about our program is that it's diverse in its background. It offers new experiences, and we have the ability to drive fresh ideas, inspiration, and innovation that helps to permeate our company's leaders, so much so that our goal has gone from 38% over the last 10 years, and we're, as of this year, striving for a 42% goal. As of last week, we're at 41.9, so we're well on our way in our procurement goals. And it's only because we get to meet people like you and contract and create new ideas, innovation, and we have the ability to champion the right thing. Our program has exemplified a great future for people like you because we've actually been able to motivate our executives all the way up to the CEO to embed supplier diversity into our DNA. So as a result, we are contracting with over 600 diverse suppliers annually, which is pretty notable because there are some programs that have one or two. So we feel that we're not only doing the right thing, but we're doing the bright thing. And so with that, I just want to say that each of you allow us to push further. You make us not rest on our laurels. You make us to continue to create envelopes of programming and keep the momentum high to reach new heights each year. So with that, I just want to say that you are the reason that companies like Elite Auto, DMG Network, DMG Engineering, AM Ortega, uh, various suppliers throughout the state of California have succeeded. And we want you to be a part of that great aggregation of suppliers. We want to make sure that you get the tools necessary to succeed. We want to make sure that you have every fundamental value necessary to not only bid, but you have an understanding of what you're bidding on. And so with that, I'll just close by saying SoCal Gas is pleased to be presenting Meet the Primes 2.0 on November 3rd. I will share the flyer with Angela to share with each of you so that you can sign up. You have to register online as it is a virtual Meet the Primes. But what I find exciting about 2.0 is that we've done away with all the boring stuff that we've been doing for 40 years, and we've created something new. We actually took a pen out of Edward Simon's book and we just decided to take it to a new plateau. So with that, we just ask that you join us, navigate, learn. If you're in anything from professional services onwards to digging a ditch and building a wall, we want to see you cleaning a room, whatever it is. When you think of SoCal Gas, don't think of just pipes. Think of everything that you do in a corporation, and I'm sure that's each of you. So with that, I just want to say have a wonderful experience. Leave here with something that you can take with you to grow, develop, and build. And with that, I turn you back over to Angela.
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you very much for that. I'm just looking at who's in the room here, and who's somebody is a Taurus too, Cadence Business Solutions, specializing in business education, professional development for disadvantaged and minority-owned businesses. Angela Scott, she's a Taurus too. I see Frederick Bro, the Edge Home Automation, voltage contractor and specialized in installing network connected equipment. Everybody in here, there's something for you. Dory Mullins, Managing Director at CM Simple Janitorial. And our good friend and member, Marlene Bonner with Snap Marketing for all your branded goods and services. Moving right along, make sure you guys send us your capability statements. Not on GLAC, at GLAC, we give you access and entrance. That's a difference. There's one thing to get access into the club. We can get you entrance into the VIP room, okay?
Absolutely.
So let me introduce our speakers for you this morning. The first one that I'll introduce is Edward Simon II. He is the Director of Business Performance and Supplier Diversity, Inclusion, and Diversity Officer at California American Water. He was recently added to the California American Water's board as the Inclusion and Diversity Officer. In this role, Ed and his team have led the successful implementation of various operations and customer service projects. And under his leadership at American Water's Supplier Diversity Program, it's consistently met and exceeded the California Public Utilities Commission goal, because Ed is always out and about, scouting the area, looking for minority, women, veteran-owned, and diverse businesses to do business at California American Water. Their average spend was 32.8%. And in 2020, under Ed's continued leadership, the company achieved its highest diverse spend percentage of 39.96%. Congratulations. Over the last 3 years, California American Water has developed 69 new diverse vendors with opportunities to work with them. And let me also introduce Dawn Gilbert. She is the Director and Supplier Diversity at, where do I put your name, company name? Dawn, help me here. As
Frontier Communications.
Thank you. Somehow that got left off of the.
That's okay.
Okay, let me tell a little bit about you. As California's first diversity leader to achieve over 50% spend with minority, women, and disabled-owned veteran business enterprises. Her multifaceted career spans almost 20 years within the organizational landscape, most notably successfully navigating business models that support supplier diversity, developmental programs, next-generation technologies, telecom, and water. Driven by passion and based on her unique critical thinking approach, she was able to accomplish substantial inroads in the fields of supplier diversity. She's an advisory board member to the Asian Business Association and has been recognized by Veterans in Business and by Asian Business Association and the American Indian Chamber of Commerce. Over there with Tracy, the American Indian Chamber of Commerce, and was awarded a Woman of the Year at the Latino Business Association. And so we're going to make sure that she will be able to put GLAC in her resume next time. And so this is Ms. Dawn Gilbert with Frontier Communications. And so at this time, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Ed and Dawn to lead us through this conversation of RFIs versus RFPs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. Certainly excited to be with the team at GLAC and the participants this morning. I apologize. I would tell you, it never fails. Whenever I'm ready to present, the landscapers are outside leaf blowing. So hopefully you won't hear that too much now, but this is the type of environment that we're all working in and certainly appreciate it. I think I'm going to share my screen, correct, Naomi? Are you going to have me share the screen or you want to share the screen?
You're all good to go. Yes, please.
What's that?
Yes, please share on your end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm going to share. Okay, so certainly Dawn and I are excited to be with the team today. We certainly appreciate all of you taking time to attend and listen. I will tell you that it takes some effort to assemble a presentation, and we are hopeful that you certainly take a tad bit of what you learned today and hopefully use it in the business that you're in, and to hopefully increase the number of contracts and RFIs and RFPs that you respond to. I will tell you, we're going to talk about the RFI and RFP process and the difference between the two. We're going to show you some examples. We're going to share with you some suggestions on responding effectively to RFPs and RFIs. But we also are going to share with you information about our company, so you have an idea of who California American Water is, who Frontier Communications is, some of our bidding processes, and really what it takes to work with Frontier Communications and California American Water. I will tell you, being that we are a California regulated utility, most of what you're going to learn today is applicable to SoCalGas, it's applicable to SDG&E, it's applicable to T-Mobile, all of those entities that are regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. Let's see, let me move to the next slide here. Okay, so a little bit about California American Water. Our parent company is American Water. We are the largest, most geographically publicly traded U.S. water and wastewater utility in the U.S. We treat over 1 billion, that's 1 billion with a B, gallons of water a day. American Water, our parent company's a parent company, employs about 7,000 dedicated water professionals throughout the U.S., including Ontario and Canada. We serve about 15 million customers, 15 million people in 47 states, including, as I mentioned before, Ontario, Canada. But a little bit about California American Water, specifically here, obviously in the state of California. Our headquarters is based in San Diego. We are right across from the train station here in downtown San Diego. We are divided into what we call divisions. Our southern division includes San Diego County. We serve all of Imperial Beach, all of the Coronado Island, portions south of Chula Vista, but not a huge part of Chula Vista. We also have an office in what we call our Rosemead office. And we also just recently acquired East Pasadena Water. Not sure if you're familiar with them or not, but we just recently acquired East Pasadena. And then we also have an office in Ventura County. Moving up the state, in the central part of the state, we serve all of Monterey County, including those areas that you see there. We serve all of the Monterey Peninsula. We have a very small operation in Sonoma County, Yolo County, and then we also serve Sacramento area, those areas that you see highlighted there. Just to point out, those systems that you see in green, those are systems that we either are in the process of acquiring or that we have acquired, and this map needs to be updated because as I mentioned before, we just recently acquired East Pasadena Water. So that's California American Water, our parent company, and what we do. I'm going to turn it over to Dawn to talk about Frontier Communications.
Thank you, Ed. So I wanted to share with you our overall map as a company. Frontier, as many of you, or maybe a few of you know, we took over the California territory in 2015 with the acquisition of all of the areas where Verizon has historically done business in the state of California. Currently, Frontier is the largest service provider for broadband and internet service in the state of California as we took over that space. Also, I want you to consider when you think about doing business with companies like Frontier and American Water, yes, you may be able to do business here, but is your footprint outside of the state? Because as you see from the map, we do business with a lot of states that border California as well. Apologize for my voice, I'm just getting over the flu, so it'll be in and out, so bear with me. When we talk about what Frontier does, Frontier currently has 3.7 million customers throughout the country. And particularly in California, we have over 1 million customers in the broadband space. With the emergency broadband bill that was just signed in Senate and Congress, we plan to expand that to probably over 2 million customers. So in doing that, we need the help of suppliers, contractors, subcontractors like yourself. So Ed, let's get into what's the difference between an RFI and an RFQ. So when you think about an RFI and an RFQ, an RFP, and RFT, you probably didn't even know all of these existed. And realistically, many of the organizations in the diversity space and in the utility space, the focus that we have is on the RFI, RFP, and RFQ. And RFI particularly provides the information that the purchasers don't even know that they don't have. When we do an RFI, we send it out to companies that we think have the ability to do the work for us, and they may have knowledge around technology that we're not even aware it's out there. So that's why we send out the RFI. We want to find out, we're not necessarily committing to purchase anything. We just really want to find information out on the product. And really, it's going to help us to evolve the RFP as we move forward. The RFP, and I'll go through all of these. So let's go through the ROI. It's very similar to the RFI, and it's really used to shortlist the suppliers, because we send out an RFI to maybe 50 suppliers. From that, maybe 20% of those drop off during the first process. So the purchaser's not necessarily committing to buy again, but it helps us to evolve the final decision. In the RFP or the RFO, it's a request for proposal or request for offer. So we're looking to find out, what are the solutions you have? What does your pricing possibly look like? Is it suited to professional services? All of those. And then generally we don't move forward with an RFT. That's a process that we don't move forward in, but we wanted to share it with you. But then the RFQ clearly defines the specifications associated to the project. And many times those are built from the information that we receive from suppliers. We might start with 10 detail items that we're looking for, and that grows to 25 based on the information that we receive from prospective suppliers. It's judged primarily on price. And it's so interesting that we're doing this today. I knew we had planned this, but we as a company are now looking at reverse auctions where, we're putting it out there at a faster pace opportunity, where an RFQ generally, takes 6 to 8 weeks for us. A reverse auction provides us an opportunity to make a decision within 7 to 10 days. And it basically includes all the details of an RFI, the RFP, and then finally the RFQ, which again is judged primarily by the price. Next slide, Ed. So when you're responding to an RFI, the first thing I'd say is that it's complete. Every question you have an answer to, because many times the RFI, when we review it, if there is a missing response, they're automatically disqualified. And I know it doesn't seem like fair, but automatically that's the process. You must complete the response with answer every question, even if you say not applicable to our organization, that's a response. Don't be afraid to ask questions. This is really the opportunity for you to ask those questions. And even if you think it's a silly question, ask it, because somebody else might have the same question. And when we send out RFIs, we generally send out every question that is asked and a response, so that if someone else has that question, they also see the response. So no question is a bad question. Be specific, be very specific, because many times when you finally submit your RFQ, the response to the RFQ, there's a blackout period and you don't get an opportunity to come back and ask the question again. So be specific and focus only on one topic. If they're asking for a widget, don't provide them with a widget and a new widget you came up with and a warranty associated to it. Be specific, because that's the only way we can measure apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And communicate clearly and succinctly so that anyone who reads your response can understand what you're trying to say. Provide context to your response as well. And then propose possible solutions. If the proposed RFI has a solution in mind, and you know that you've worked on this types of projects previously, and you've had a solution that differs from what they're proposing, provide that. That shows innovation. And that's something that people are always looking for when they're looking to the responses to RFIs. We wanted to provide for you a couple of sample forms of RFIs, because between the water, the electric, the gas, the communications, corporations, we all use different forms. There's not one form that we could provide you, but this is just a sample of some forms that are out there. You can ask, and many times on the website of utilities and organizations, they have an example of an RFP. They provide like an example for what their RFPs look like. And you could ask us. And also if it's a public RFP, I think, and I don't want to speak specifically, but I believe some of the electric companies, they currently list their RFPs that are going to be going out to bid so that you can look and see those as an example. Maybe you can't respond to those, but that's just something for you to do your due diligence on. We talked about, what you should do and the best way to respond, but I think it's important to go back towards this. It's so important to read the RFP clearly. Many times when, we get a request, we miss it because we're trying to be so fast in our response, but we really want you to understand and take the time to understand what the client is asking for so that you can provide the best response. Review the requirements with your internal stakeholders. Although you might be in this space and you might be able to perform, do you have the ability to perform in the appropriate timeline that they're asking? So share this with your stakeholders to be sure that you can meet some of their requirements. Draft your questions and answer them in a way that it's a wider view of your business. Gather all your answers and insights, create your first draft, review. You could have the best responses, but if you provide a response and there are typos, there's full of typos, or you partially answered a response, you're going to be disqualified. You don't want to be disqualified. It's very easy for companies just to look and say, oh, this supplier doesn't even know how to spell draft. They put daft in because they missed the R in draft. Many times they'll disqualify you for that. And edit accordingly. Use the appropriate language to the industry. You may use one term. The electrical companies may use one other term. Communications companies may use another term. So be sure that you're using the appropriate terms tied to the industry that you're applying to on the RFP. And then present and submit your final proposal and then see what happens. You're not always going to win, but what I suggest is if you don't win the RFP, ask for a follow-up call to find out, what could I have done better? What was missing from my RFP? Many times they will give you a snippet. They may not give you everything, but it'll give you some insight into what you could have done better. And I think that's more important than even winning an RFP. That helps you it's good to win an RFP. We want to win an RFP. We want to get the money. We want the opportunity. But when you don't win it, it's better to have the relationship with the organization that knows that you are serious about doing business with them, that you want to know what you could have done better.
Just a couple of things I would add. Thank you, Dawn. To Dawn's point, please make sure if there's interest in understanding the why behind if you were not successful in the RFP process, that you do ask for that feedback. Most of the feedback, if you're a diverse supplier, would likely come from the diversity professional for the company. But for the most part, we don't go out and say we provide that type of service. But if you were to ask, we will take time to share with you what you could have done differently. I will tell you, for California American Water, I think for most all of the utilities, we will not tell you, well, you were $1,000 off or $10,000 off on this amount. We are not going to share that level of detail with you. But what we will say is that you would probably need to sharpen your pencil a little bit more, that the other person was a little cheaper. We won't give specifics around comparing your price to others, but we will provide some feedback, to Dawn's point, whether your draft was whether your RFP was clear, whether you needed to sharpen your pencil. The other thing I would tell you on this particular slide, that I would encourage you to engage team members in your company that will be involved in completion of the work, in the review of the RFP. The last thing you want to do is, as the owner of the company, respond to an RFP saying that you're going to do all of this great task or complete all of this great work. And then when it comes down to it and you're awarded it, you go to your team and say, now we're going to do this. And they're like, wow, it would be nice that I had known. So please make sure that you distribute it to the team, let them read it. And you know the folks that you need to engage. It's the folks that are going to be actually doing the work for you.
So someone asked in the chat, will this be available? I don't know, Angela, are you going to provide this for them on the website, or a copy of the
Absolutely.
PowerPoint?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
We'll
great.
send out a copy of the recording to all of those that registered
Great,
and also
good,
placed on the website.
good,
Perfect.
good. So I just wanted to cover how to effectively respond to an RFP. We shared with you some of the tips, but we wanted to really get into some specifics. First, you want to make sure that you understand what services are required. And some of this may be basic to some of you, some of it may be new news to you, but these are things that we found worked for us from a diversity, supplier diversity professional perspective and what we've seen over the years. So make sure you understand what services are required, that you please make sure that you're clear on identifying what we said our problem is and what you are proposing as the solution. Because the last thing I would tell you, even with my team members, I hate when folks come to me with here's a problem and then expect for me to come up with a solution. I tell my team members all the time, come with me with the problem as well as what you propose as the solution and let us talk about that. So make sure that you are including a solution in your response to the RFP. You want to make sure you consider the project scope. Don't commit to something that you know you can't deliver. That's the last thing you want to do. And it creates a real big problem for the supplier diversity leads that are representing you and pushing for you to move forward when you don't deliver on what you said that you can do. So make sure you consider the project scope when responding to RFPs. Be realistic in your timeline, in your approach. Make sure it's something that you can commit to and deliver. You want to make sure you're being realistic in the timeline, in the task, and the statement of work that you're performing. If you can offer multiple options, that's a great thing for companies these days because they do like options when it comes to working with vendors. The other thing is we would encourage you is make sure that you understand the competition that's out there. Certainly, one construction may go down one road, a construction company may go down one road while the other one may go down a different road, but understand who your competition is. That's so very important as you continue to build your business. Number 7, I can't stress enough. What value is this relationship going to add for our organizations? We're always looking for the value add. So please make sure that you are providing a value add in your RFP response. And the other thing that we like to see is your team. Who's going to be working on this? We know most all of you are probably owners of the company, but we want you to present your team. Who are we going to be actually working with? And make sure when you present that team that you link back their biography or their qualifications or experience to how, as a reader, I'm able to say, wow, this person really understands engineering, for example, or understands what we do, and this person can add value in this relationship. So make sure that your RFP includes presenting your team. I would tell you, don't send us, 10 people with a page each, a paragraph, a brief paragraph of this is Vaughn Williams, this is his qualifications, and this is how Vaughn can help in this statement or the scope of work. And the last note that you see there, to truly be successful in an RFP response, you need to be able to stand out and show the client absolutely you're the right choice for the job.
Absolutely, Ed. And when you're preparing for that, you want to think about the structure of what you're submitting. A cover letter, of course, you want to be clear about what's the project, the company submitting it, who you're submitting it to. And the executive summary is so important because you want to say who your company is, who they are, some of your successes. You want, why should I choose you? So you're selling yourself in that executive summary. If you wow them in the executive summary, they're going to want to read more about your company. But if you just do a basic 2-line, we are a construction company that works in the utility. And I've seen that. Or they say, we are a minority owned blah, blah, blah companies that can help you with your diversity spend. That's off-putting. You want to just say who you are, What is the value of you for the organization and how you can help us? And then you want to put together a detailed strategy that meets the RFP objectives and not just the basic. I mean, I know it's easy just to respond and just give the basic information. You're not going to stand out there. You know, you have to put some effort into win these RFPs, especially nowadays. There's so much infrastructure work that's going to be done in this country that you really want to stand out, because that'll help you to get other opportunities. All of us, as you know, have relationships, and those relationships share the great suppliers. Like, oh, this RFP was just won by this company, and they're going to make you look good. They're going to do great for your company. So be sure that your strategy is tied to the RFP objective and it stands out. Propose any recommendations that you might have that you think are missing from the RFP. So you've seen the RFP, you've provided all these responses. Now you're providing your response to it. Any additional recommendations that you may have that companies may not have thought of, because there are many because we don't think of everything. And because you're specifically in this space and you are a subject matter expert in this space, provide recommendations. And then, of course, all the detail of your company information. Can't tell you how many times companies just provide their address, no telephone number, no email, no contact number. You've got to provide all the details so that if we need to call you for any question, concern, anything, we have the ability. And then a sample of your contract. Now, many times, most utilities, we will not write a contract on somebody else's paper. But we want to see if your contract kind of aligns to ours so that we know how far is this negotiation going to take, because you might win the business and then lose the opportunity based on the restrictions of your contract. We all have commitments that we have to keep associated to quality, safety, insurance, all of that. So I always believe it's a good practice to go look at the utility or the company that you are looking to work with. Look at what their contracts look like, so that you can be sure that you align with those.
A couple of comments I would add to what Dawn has stated there around the contract. I know for California American Water, we include a template of to Dawn's point, of our contract for both construction related projects as well as professional services. So you can see what our language is. A couple of comments about the contract in the language. As my mom and dad used to tell me as a kid, everything in life is negotiable. So as you read through a company contract and you see that they're on net 60 or net 90, or there's language in there about the frequency of discussions, everything is negotiable. So I would encourage you, or we would encourage you to read the contract. If there is something that would give you heartburn in your day-to-day operations, speak up. Ask Vaughn or ask the utility, hey, by the way, I see you're on net 90-day terms. Is there any way that we could be on net 60 or net 30 even? And the only thing they can say is yes or no to it, right?
Exactly.
So ask the question and make sure that you fully understand their contract. If their contract template is not out on their website, there's nothing wrong with asking. Can you share with us a copy of your template so that you understand what you're getting yourself into as you develop and respond to the RFP? And as Dawn mentioned, the structure is important. I know we like to see the fact that you are a solid business owner and you do have your own contract template. And so to Dawn's point, California American Water, most all utility have their own, but it just speaks to the quality of the business when you have your own contract that you can share and include as part of the RFP.
Yes, and the only thing I would add that I was remiss in saying is that once you sign a contract, you've made a commitment. And so you can't come back and ask questions after, can I change this? Be sure that you signed a contract that you can attend to, that you can commit to, that you can deliver on. Because if you sign that contract and you don't deliver, it's not a good thing for you, not just for the company you didn't sign, because then it's something that we eventually all know this supplier did not perform. So be certain that, as I said, be certain that if you sign the contract, you've asked all the questions, you're clear what you're agreeing to, and that you can make the commitment, because we just want you to be successful. I wouldn't be on this call with this cold, coughing, and all of this if I truly didn't care about supplier diversity and the success of suppliers. It is all of our focus that you are successful. You can't be in diversity if you don't have the passion for it.
Exactly right.
Next slide. So I know we keep reiterating RFI, RFQ, RFP, but we just want you to get it in your head. You know, an RFI educates us on who you are, what you can do, and if you should even be part of this process. RFQ quantifies to say, yeah, they can be part of it. They can perform at this level that we need them to perform. Yes, we know you can perform, but now we know you can perform at the level that we need you to perform. And then the RFP compares you to everyone else that wants the contract. So, you know, what's that Prince song, "Nothing Compares to You," or whatever. You want there's nothing to compare to you when you go into an RFP. You want to stand out. You want them to say, you know what, this is just the winner. And a case in point, Frontier has an RFP going on right now. We had the embedded supplier who's been doing the work, who's a minority supplier for a very long time. We have a few other minority suppliers that we were able to bring to the table because they've transitioned their business and they do this work. And then we had a few other suppliers that were non-minority. The supplier who won this RFP was a supplier who we did a little bit of work with during the pandemic and during our bankruptcy last year. But unlike many suppliers, they didn't stop to work with us because of our bankruptcy. They said, don't worry, we know you're going to pay us. We'll move forward with this. They won the contract because they performed, they were committed to the organization, they stood out, and they said they stand by anybody they do business with, they stand by you. And they won. So, I mean, it's not just the best price, sometimes it's the best relationships. So stand out, be your best, win these RFPs, come back to the organization and say, guess what? We won an RFP. We want to know when you win.
The other thing I would add to it is don't be afraid to respond to the RFI, because that tells folks and educates folks on your business. So don't be, you know, people want to go straight to the RFP and get that particular process, where a lot of minority business miss opportunities is responding to the RFI process.
Yes.
And most of them, and you saw the couple of examples, and there's many examples out there, but responding to an RFI says there's interest, and it really educates the company on your business. So think about that. And we would also encourage you to maybe, based upon our discussion today, that you maybe look at creating your own template that you would want to use for the RFI process, right? What is it based upon the structure that we shared? What is it that your company, embed your company information into those structure suggestions, and that way you're ready to roll when you receive an RFI request. But it really educates the company on your business. So don't be afraid and say, oh, well, they're at the RFI stage, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to wait until they get to the RFP process, because, you know, there's a lot of folks that are responding to these RFIs, and you can miss out on the opportunity to even get to the RFP process if you don't respond to RFI. So would encourage you as a way to make responding to RFI as part of your overall business strategy.
Yeah, and for Frontier, you cannot participate in the RFP if you were not part of the RFI. So every organization is different, but if you were not part of the beginning of the process, then you're not part of the RFP. And we don't slip people in to the RFP just because someone asks us to.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of processes, we're going to talk a little bit more about each of our competitive bidding with California American Water, as well as with Frontier Communications. For California American Water, well, let me start by saying not all of our RFIs, RFPs are competitively bid. The larger ones are, and that's probably the case for most companies, but not all of them are competitively bid. If they are larger dollar or larger value contracts, we do competitively bid because we are a regulated utility, and when we go for submission to our regulators, they will ask, did you competitively bid this? And then and sometimes they even ask, what was your process? But so for the most part, our bids, which we call ITB, and our proposals, our RFPs, those are emailed to pre-qualified consultants or contractors by invitation only. And here's what I would say to that. To get on that list, it's important that you engage the supplier diversity leads for the organizations, like the Vaughn Williams or the Dawns or myself, to get to know us, to share with us your capabilities, to share with us on how you can add value. And then that way, when we are aware, because I sit right next to, not today because of the virtual environment that we're in, but I sit right next to the contract manager. So I'm able to walk right next door and say, oh, by the way, and I know Bianca Vobecki was on the phone here or on the call. I know Vobecki Construction, we know what jobs they can do. Please make sure, I see you're getting ready to submit the bidding process for this job. Please make sure that she's added. So make sure you get to know the company's supplier diversity leads, the folks that are in the sourcing area, and make sure you educate them on your capabilities. That's how you're going to get on the list of folks that receive the invite from a California American Water perspective. We also, not always, we also post some of our RFPs and RFIs on our website. So make sure that you bookmark us as one of your favorites on the website. And later on in the presentation, Dawn and I will be sharing our contact information, but make sure that you visit our website so that you know whether or not we post our RFPs. The solicitation includes a questionnaire to disclose diversity status. I will tell you, for California American Water, 4 contracts that we either bid or sent out an RFP on, contracts valued at $100,000 or more, we include what's called a DBE requirement statement, a diverse business enterprise requirement statement, which says to the non-diverse supplier that you have to engage diverse subcontractors in your contract efforts. And we ask them to commit to a percentage of that contract. So it's very important that you understand that. But if we work directly with a diverse vendor and you're successful, we don't include the DBE. But if you're a non-diverse prime supplier or vendor, we do require you to complete the DBE requirement statements. And then we do hold you accountable. We follow up with them on a quarterly basis saying you committed to 20% of this contract being with diverse suppliers, and we're not seeing this in your report. How can we help? And what can we do to make sure that we share with you a list of diverse vendors that we know of that can help you in this regard? In this competitive bidding process, there's job walks and pre-bid meetings. There's a time that you can ask clarifying questions, as we mentioned before. Make sure you ask the questions before you respond. We issue certain addendums to the contract. Because of COVID, we added a COVID addendum to our contract. Our bids and proposals are analyzed and summarized, and we actually evaluate them based upon the value add, based upon their commitment, if they're non-diverse, to the diverse business community. And then we, at that particular award, the contract based upon the best value. As you can see, we said best value. We didn't say best price, because we have worked with vendors that are diverse, that are higher priced, but adds more values. So it's very important that when you think about responding to RFPs, you're very clear on the value that you bring to the organization. And then I forgot to mention, most importantly, that you understand what it is that we do. I would tell you, and I know this from experience with Dawn and Lauren and I working together, what irks us to no end is when you approach us or even think about applying and or wanting to work with us, and you say, by the way, what does California American Water do? Don't ever, please don't ever do that. You want to know what it is that we do before you approach us. And that's quickly looking at our website, quickly just gleaning some information about us. The last thing you want to do is approach people and don't know what it is that that we do, and you want to work with us. So how are you going to add value if you don't even know what we do, right? So do some homework, spend some time researching the company before even approaching them. It's very, very important. It just sends the right message to that initial contact. So that's California American Water. I'll turn it over to you, Dawn.
Absolutely, Ed. I agree with everything that you said. Know who we are and what we do, because not just us, but if you get past us and don't know what we do and you speak to one of our colleagues, then there's no option for you to move forward. So do your research. The easy thing to do is Frontier Communications Growth in California. Google it. California American Waters Growth in California. Google it. And you'll get a bunch of responses that'll say what we're doing, how we're growing, all of that. So Frontier, it's a little bit different. We have like a go, no go process. So because Frontier has been in California for, I think we've been in California for 35 years, but we've only been focusing on diversity for the past 5 years. They have effectively streamlined their approach in the competitive bid process. So if you complete an RFI and you're not going to go past that, it's like go, no go. So you get to go forward to the next step. If not, you don't go forward. We don't go back and forth with suppliers. The same thing with our contracts. If we're negotiating, we only negotiate 5 days on a contract. So if we can't come to an agreement within 5 days on a contract, then we move forward to the next supplier. So keep that in mind and understand the approach of each company is very different. And one of the no-nos that I say is when you say, well, when I negotiated my contract with American Water, we did that. Or when I did this with, and we've had suppliers say that. So understand that we're all very different. With suppliers registering at Frontier, you do register with our portal. You can go to the supplier diversity at frontier.com. You register, but your registration is not activated until you become part of a sourcing project. So you'll get a notification that say you've been registered, but you won't become active until one of the strategic sourcing category leads selects you to be part of an RFI. And then you go to the next level where they'll ask you to put more information in regarding your company. Sorry, my AirPods were going out. I think we're almost out. So just keep that in mind. So I've had a few suppliers reach out to me and say, I registered, but I haven't heard anything. Well, you haven't heard anything because you're not part of a sourcing process. You're not part of a project that we are currently interacting in. And so it's great that we provide you the competitive bid process for both of our companies. But if I were a new supplier stepping into this game and bidding on projects, my first approach would be, of course, registering. Then it would be building a relationship and a rapport with the supplier diversity lead, and in such a way that's amenable to them. Ed might like email.
I might like calls. Vaughn might want you to knock on his door. I doubt that. But everyone has a different approach around how they want to be contacted. So then you stay in contact with us. And many times a project will come up and it is not something that we had in the pipeline. So we know because you reached out to us that you're somebody who does this. We'll connect you automatically to the folks in strategic sourcing. And then once you're connected, they want to include you in the RFP. You're now included in the RFI. You're now included in the RFI. If you continue, they contact us and say, the diverse supplier that you've introduced to the business is going to move forward or he's not going to move forward. So many times I know before you know, but I can't reach out to you. They have to go through the process and notify you. So when you reach out to me and you say, well, I'm in this, what's happening? We can't tell you. Ed can't tell you. I can't tell you. Vaughn can't tell you. When you're in the middle of a process, a competitive bid, it's a blackout period where we are not allowed to contact you because that might give you undue influence over another supplier who's in the process. So now you move forward to the part where you're doing the, the RFP and you're responding and you win the RFP and you're negotiating. Once you've won the RFP and you're negotiating, you can certainly reach out to us and say, I got some questions. Should I ask them this, this, and this? Excuse me. I can help you with that. I can say, if you need to be paid, like Ed said, not 90 days, but you really want to be paid in 30 days, ask for that. Most of the time, we can help you with that. You might not get 30, you might get 45, but that's better than 90 days. If there's a question about when is this deliverable going to be required? Do I have like a 15-day grace period? You've got to ask them that. There's just certain things that we can advise you on. And it's not that we're being difficult. We're just trying to support you on that. And I'm going to have you go to the next slide because I've got to cough a little bit.
Right, so here's a list of all the items that we procure. And this is applicable to both telecommunications, gas, electric, water service. The bulk of our spend is around infrastructure. It's around what services are we providing to the customer. So this is a list that really is water related in nature, but it also is applicable to telecommunications, gas, electric. It's around underground pipe constructions. It's around grading. It's around paving. It's around excavation. It's around construction management, electrical services, facilities management, meters, be it gas meters, electric meters, water meters. It's around the legal services, engineering. Is it a design build? Is it civil engineering? Is it architectural? We all procure uniforms. We all procure office supplies. We all procure MRO related supplies. So this is really a list of what we procure as regulated utilities. Gas may be a little different, have a few more specialized areas, electric, telecom, but for the most part, this is a list of both the construction related items that we procure, services that we procure, as well as materials that we procure. Dawn, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, and a few items that I'd like to add to that is placing cable, splicing cable, installation services, testing cable, engineering, design, and build. I think Ed mentioned that already. IT development and testing IT resources is going to be very big in 2022, 2023. And small construction, because as we grow, we're going to have to build additional central offices. And so we're going to be looking for companies to do some small construction for us as well in 2022. So many of the things that Ed listed here, like 90%, and then the items that I've added as well. So let's talk about doing business with us. As you know, we are all California-based utilities who are under GL 156. We have a commitment to spend 21.5%, although many of us on this call are way over 30% and continue to grow our diversity spend. Our priorities are definitely with growing the minority, veteran, minority, veteran, LGBTQ community so that we can grow to represent the community that we serve. We ask that you register with California American Water and with Frontier Communications, but also get certified if you're not certified by the California Clearinghouse. So you can go to thesupplierclearinghouse.com to get certified. It's at no cost. It's valuable because all of the utilities in California require that certification, but also included in that, you'll find that the insurance industry is starting to ask for suppliers to be certified by the clearinghouse as well. And that's just, that's kind of where we are that's kind of where we are in this space. We ask that, that you will, I think Ed requires the Avetta certification. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we actually moved from Avetta to ISN.
Okay.
It is a company that actually collects your safety information. So if you are going to work out in the field, for most all of the regulated utilities, safety is just part of number one on our list of what we look for from a construction field related perspective. So you got to make sure that your safety record continues to be acceptable, because most all of the utilities will not work with a company that has a poor safety record. So we use a company called ISN. There is a cost involved with that, but the good news, and we moved from Avetta to ISN because what we found is a lot of the utilities in California and across the country are ISN or subscribers to ISN. So therefore, if you subscribe to ISN and you want to work with California American Water, and then you want to move to Frontier Communications or SoCal Gas, and they use ISN, there's not an additional cost. But this company collects your safety record, it collects your certificate of insurance. So it tells us that you validated your safety record, and your safety record can be an A, unfortunately, to an F. And I would tell you, we work with the A's and B's, C's occasionally, but when you get into the D and F area, unfortunately, we will not work with you, because safety is that important to all of our companies.
It is. We only work with the A's and the B's. And if you're a B minus, then there's an issue. So do your best to keep your safety as a priority for your organization. And then the proper insurance requirements. Every company's insurance requirements are different. And actually, I think it's reflective to the industry. Many of like the communications, we have the same requirements around insurance. The waters, I think you may have the same requirements around insurance. The electricals have the same requirements around insurance. So all of those, you want to keep that in mind when you're looking to, if you have a business, if you want to do business with utilities, or if you want to start a business. So all of those are priority. And Talia, do you want to talk about that, Ed?
Yeah, it's our invoice processing system that American Water uses. I'm hopeful that in this day and age that all of you have some form of invoice processing system that you use, and that you're not mailing invoices unless the company asks for you to mail them the invoice. But as a business owner, you should have a way to register for the various companies' invoice processing systems, or have a way to electronically submit your invoice to the company that you're working with. We use Talia that you see there. That's our invoicing system. And with us, even though you may be on a payment term that's 45 or 60 days, with our Talia system, if you wanted your money early and the invoice has been approved, for a small fee, you can receive your money early, sooner than your 60 or your negotiated payment terms.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we're all very different, but we all have different tools that we use. So it's valuable for you to understand and learn those tools before you do business with us. And you certainly can reach out to us, and, we will spend the time to have the conversation. I know, in Vaughn's space, they use different tools as well. So I can't speak to any of those.
Absolutely. So this slide here is just a quick list of when we're ready. I would tell you, you don't need to send this right now, but when we're ready to set you up as a vendor, these are just some of the items that we look for you to send over to us. First, we want your vendor information. What's the legal entity? What's the address? What's the phone number? What's the email address? What's the contact? Just all of your more detailed contact information, so we know how to get a hold of you. We do ask you for a W-9, a tax document. We do, as I mentioned before, not only the safety record, if you're going to work out in the field, if you're professional services, we don't require a safety check, but if you're going to be in the field, it does require that. But we do ask for a certificate of insurance. And then we also ask for your diverse certification, hopefully from the supplier clearinghouse. So these are just a few of the documents that we certainly ask for and ask that you're ready to provide when we're ready to do business with you. So this is our contact information for Dawn and I, and we would encourage you to certainly take a picture of this. Feel free to reach out to us. If you have any questions about what you heard today or about our companies, feel free to reach out to us. As you know, in this pandemic environment that we're in, we are mostly working from home. So our office phones are forwarded to our cell numbers. We obviously have email addresses, and then we also have our site. For California American Water, you see to visit our supplier diversity site there. That's where, to Dawn's point, you can register to do business with us. And it's all things supplier diversity, from specific our insurance requirements. There's a chart that says if you perform this work, this is the level of insurance that you require. It also has our contract template. It has a link to the supplier clearinghouse. Everything supplier diversity is there, and I would encourage you to visit and bookmark. And a lot of the information that's there is applicable to just doing business in a regulated state like California. So feel free to visit and feel free to reach out to us for questions. And finally, I would be remiss, a lot of some of the information that we shared with you today, these are sources and references, things that we have looked at and said works for us. And so we capture that. So we would be remiss if we did not cite certain sources or references.
Yes.
And then finally, questions. So we'll open up for any questions that's in the chat. Hopefully we save some time for that, and we're here to answer any questions that you have. And we certainly hope that you found the session valuable today. So I think I'm going to turn it over, Dawn, unless you had something you want to add.
No, Ed, I think you did a great job summarizing it. Thank
I
you.
tried to help you out there at the end because of the coffee there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Angela or Naomi, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to Don and Edward. I thought that was a great presentation, and I'm so honored and fortunate that we've got our supplier diversities, managers, directors, your titles, whatever they are, that you guys came and took the time to come and really give us the real information on how to start that pathway to contracting with California Utilities. And I see that there is a question. All right, I thought Ms. Cook had a question. And if you could unmute and ask your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you guys so much. This was so informative. You really covered a lot of the little things that I've been wanting to know that I haven't been able to find research on, like the negotiation tactics and the yes or no type thing. So I have my DBE certification, and I went to the clearinghouse website, and I was already in there. And so do I need to, I reset the password and everything, and it let me in. On your site for American Water, it asked me, did I have the certification from Clearinghouse? Is there a form or something I need to download, or because I don't see that when I'm inside the portal?
Is your certificate current? Is your registration current? Does it
Yes.
say it's expired, or does it say it's current? Because
No,
it'll give
it's
you
current.
an X. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would tell you, for American Water, California American Water, we don't require that you download the certification at this particular point. You just simply answer yes to the question. That way we know you're certified. But yeah, there's nothing more you need to do until you're ready to engage. But you should highlight the fact that you are certified through the supplier clearinghouse. That's very helpful. But there's nothing you need to add or to send to us at this particular, or attach at this point.
Okay. Well, we're an IT company, so I hear that there's a lot of options for us to work together. So I'm very excited.
And how do you pronounce your name?
Nael.
Nael, I would tell you, yeah, if you want to send me your capability statement, I will tell you, Nael, for most of our IT related services that we acquire, that's handled from a corporate American Water perspective. So I will be more than happy to forward your capability statement and information on to our corporate IT sourcing lead. I will just full transparency. I will tell you, supplier diversity is something that we are focused on from an American Water perspective. California American Water has been focused on supplier diversity since 2009. Our parent company hasn't been focused that long, but they are very interested in engaging small minority businesses in our larger procurement and sourcing efforts. So please feel free to send that over. I'm very transparent. I'll forward your capability statement to the person and you'll be on the email so you have future follow-up with that person. So for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep, absolutely. Thanks for your question.
I see another question here in the chat box. Is there a fee to work with you? And if so, how much?
Absolutely not. There's no fee to work with us. As Dawn mentioned, the certification through the clearinghouse is absolutely free. We should mention that if you're certified through NMSDC, if you're a disabled veteran through Department of General Services, that disabled veteran DGS designation is automatic. That is, there's a file that's uploaded to the clearinghouse once a month. But if you're certified through NMSDC or other certifying bodies, there's a smaller application that you submit to the clearinghouse along with your copy of your certification, and it's reciprocal. So you don't have to do a lot of the work that someone that has never been certified needs to complete. But absolutely, there is no fee to work with us at all.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, so we still have a few minutes left for our program. And so, Vaughn, did you want to say anything about, it's great process, the overview from Don and Edward. And I know that SoCal Gas is similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
we
I know,
are.
like, folks on the line, we want to do business with everybody. And I hope that that's everyone's goal, to make sure that you complete an RFI and register on your websites. Where are the RFIs? How do I get access to an RFI? Do I get on a list or do I go online?
So for SoCal Gas, we have a list that we keep, and it keeps growing, and that it's based on the individuals that we meet or individuals that are certified in the clearinghouse or individuals that are members of organizations like GLAC that we reach out to based on their skills and qualifications as they match up with the scope of services that are needed. The RFI is then sent to all of those individuals. A copy of that RFI can actually be sent to the partnering CBO if you request, and that way you'll have it
Okay.
for your records.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, great. Okay, so then while we have you guys on the line, if there are any other questions, put in the chat box or raise your hand. But just as a reminder, our next class is step 3 of how to contract with California utilities, and that's on October 26th, and it's Engage and Connect. And at that class, we're going to find out what types of suppliers are needed in the utility space and how to research the opportunities. So the first class was certification. And if you need a copy of that recording to see how to get certified and what the process was and the steps, that class was led by Stephanie and Jasmine and Justin. And so let us know and we can send you the link of that class. And so now you're getting registered. And so here you're understanding the RFI, the RFP. You're right. I didn't even know all those RFs. And so that's a great, there was clarity around that. And so now you're moving forward. And so you're about to get your turn at bat. And so you just want to make sure that you've got everything, all your ducks lined up in a row. It's so important. I wrote down a couple of things that stood out to me. And of course, it was do your homework, register, make sure you register and get certified, and then start to build the relationship. I was so excited when I saw the last slide and there were phone numbers. You know how many times we meet folks all out and about at these different expos, and there's always some cryptic kind of info at company.org. And so to see Edward and Don's phone number is just a testament to their commitment to really want to help us. And so again, thank you so much. And so we'll start to build those relationships. And as I said, yes, send us your capability statement. Bon, we're collecting those also for Edward and Don, and we'll be sharing those with you because we really want to sit down and, you know, and plug in some diverse suppliers into the utility contracting and procurement space.
Yes.
Additionally, coming up for GLAC, so let me finish back to how to contract with California Utilities. So that's next Tuesday, October 26th, Engage and Connect. And then in November 11th, step 4, meet the utility representatives. But before we get to November, we've got some other events taking place in October. Then the morning, you're gonna learn how to contract with California Utilities in the step 3, Engage and Connect. And then at 4 o'clock, it's the GLAC member meetup. And this is an opportunity for you to dial in at 4 o'clock, very informal virtual atmosphere where we introduce GLAC members and they get to introduce themselves and highlight their business and make presentations, and we do referrals. And so it's just a really down home kind of networking environment that we create on a very casual level. And as soon as we're able to get back out and together, then, you know, that's when we'll transition back to our very formal gatherings that we have. You'll get to have 5 minutes to introduce your company to the group. Your introduction can include, but it's not limited to, maybe current projects, special promotions, or upcoming events on behalf of your corporation. And so we'll be sending out the flyer for you to register for that. Also, additionally, on October 28th, GLAC will be hosting its 4th annual Women in the C-Suite. And this is a virtual event that we have every year where we bring together a group of high-profile women that are leaders and shakers and movers in the community. And they're going to be talking to attendees this year about transformational leadership. This panel is going to be moderated by Aruva Martin, and you may have seen her on CNN. She's a legal commentator, talk show host, and television producer. And the panelists include LA County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, Kelly Hawkins, who is with EKA PR, Celeste Elaine, who's with Microsoft, Diane Valentine, who's a creator, innovator, and entrepreneur, and Denise Pines, who is a CEO, author, speaker, filmmaker, health advocate. And so again, this is another event that we'll have for our members to attend and view and get educated and updated on. And then again, on November 3rd, as I mentioned, GLAC in the AM presents Establishing Healthy Banking Relationships. So we all know that as a result of the pandemic, one of the reasons that small diverse businesses did not have access to the PPP funds is because they did not have banking relationships. So by the time they walked into the big giant banking institutions, all the slots and loans and applications and everything were all taken and spoken for, and we were out of luck. So the Black Executive Leadership Team of Bank of America as a group has committed to GLAC that they will host a series of sessions and have conversations with our members about what it takes to have a healthy banking relationship. And you'd be surprised about the benefits of having a banker. All of us should have a banker at a main banking financial institution that we know their name. They check in with it. They track our growth as a corporation so that if we need money to expand, or in the event, unfortunately, of another pandemic, or for various reasons that we need money, access to capital, a loan, or whatever, that we have somewhere to go, and that they are on that journey with us as our company grows. So that is on November 3rd, Vaughn, the same day as your event.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Yep, so there's plenty for everyone to do. And of course, always register, and then that way, you know, you at least get a link to the recording.
Absolutely.
You know, I find myself attending events in the daytime and then listening to the links at night. So it's with lots of opportunities that are coming up. Let's see, anything else that I've got? Okay, Bon, you want to close us out? Edward,
Sure.
Don? Okay.
So first, I just want to say thank you to both Edward and Don. You know, it's good to have friends in the industry that you can call on and they actually come through for you. So my special thanks to the both of you. Secondly, Ed hit on two things that I want to make sure that each of you are aware of. One was safety. So for those of you who are not familiar with ISN, I am pleased to say that SoCalGas is presenting an ISN training course on November 12th. We will send the flyer out in the next week or so. We have just signed a contract with ICE Solutions in case of emergency solutions based out of Northern California, and they specialize in ISN training. And what we realize is that a lot of the smaller businesses either don't know how to fill out the application or they fill it out in such a way that they start off with an F. And I always wonder, well, how can you get an F and you haven't done any work? We found out through working with ICE Solutions is that it's all about what you put on the application that it helps to determine what your beginning score might be. So for those that want to attend that course, please call me at 213-500-5242, or you can email me at vwilliams@socalgas.com. Angela has my information as well, and I will try to put it in the chat if we don't get disconnected before we finish. The other thing that I wanted to say is that don't let your non-adherence to the RFI or RFQ be your detriment. And I say that because oftentimes you have smaller business units within larger corporations who don't always want to go to an RFP process. So what they do is they look at that RFI response and see who's qualified and who has the ability to take that department to the level that they need to get to. That happened 3 times this year at SoCalGas. We did an RFI just to see who would respond. We sent it to 100 suppliers. 19 suppliers responded. And I believe of those 19 responses, only about 8 of them actually had a complete response. They put all of those 8 suppliers in a pilot program for 90 days. Those suppliers are now sitting on contracts worth over $1 million. So respond, don't hesitate. And that's why we had this course today, because what we found is that a lot of times people don't know what to respond to, what not to respond to, if they should respond and how they should respond. I hope today's information gave you those nuggets and tools that you need to go forward. But by all means, please respond, because that RFI, that RFQ could be your beginning or your end. And so with that, I just personally say thank you for being here today. If you're not a member of GLAC, I'm just going to be the marketing person right now. You need to sign up, because GLAC is where it's at. GLAC is doing things with SoCalGas and other utilities that have never been done from community-based organizations. And you need to be a part of the cutting edge things that they're doing, because they could actually help you to build those relationships that you need to move to the next level. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll turn it back over to Angela.
Thank you for that plug, Vaughn. That was just on my list. That's always my last call to action, the altar call, as we call it.
Yes.
Yes, Don, we certainly hope you feel better, and we hope you're able to get that umbrella off your roof. And that for those of you that don't know, Don had a windstorm at her home, and her umbrella landed on her roof. And I'm part of an HOA, so I know, yeah, if you don't get that down, they will fine you for cluttering up the complex, right? Edward, you know what I'm talking about. Let's see, Miss Naomi, do you have anything else that we need to tend to before we adjourn? Again, thank you guys so much for attending. We hope to see you at the next one. Send us your capability statements. If you haven't, if you're not a member, please join. What else, Naomi?
That is everything. I did see one last question from Frederick Bro. What type of projects do you expect from the Federal Broadband Infrastructure Funding Act? I'm not sure if there's anyone who can assist with that.
Okay.
Dawn, you may want to touch upon the infrastructure broadband project that's underway. For California American Water, we don't have that. So Dawn, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. So because of the infrastructure bill that was signed, we're doing a lot of work throughout the state, where I said we have like 1 million customers. We're going to plan on having 2 million by the end of next year. So we're going to be doing central office construction, installation services. I mentioned a few other things: IT services, testing, equipment testing, IT testing, like testing the network. So, when you're, I don't know if you ever see these cars that have these antennas attached to them, that they're testing the network to see what the you know, what the viability is of the network in a particular area. So testing. We also do small projects with, you know, paving, installation services will never go away at Frontier. So if you have a small business or any size business that does installation services, we're going to be looking for more and more contracts, but you have to, again, be certified. You must have a great safety record, and that safety record is associated to people, you know, as far as California state disability issues, if you've had anybody injured on the site, on the job. We hope you have a great safety record, and also background checks. So any work done and for installation at our customers, on site for our customers, you definitely have to have your employees background checked. I meant to add that as well. But if you want to find out more about any projects that are coming up, please feel free to email me at dawn.gilbert@ftr.com, and I will circle back around with you and put you in contact with the appropriate folks.
Okay, great. Edward? Any final comments?
No, thank you all for taking the time to attend. We hope you found something helpful that we shared with you today, but it's been our pleasure to present, and thank you, Angela, the GLAC team. Vaughn, as always, appreciate you engaging us in your efforts there at SoCalGas, but thank you all for attending. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody.
Great. And we'll
Take
be
care.
sending out the recording with all of the information and contact information. So I hope you make it a goal that for the month of October, that you go on to the websites of these 3 utilities and register, and then pursue your certification with the clearinghouse, and then find you an RFI to fill out.
Right.
There you
That's
go.
right.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful
Thank
day.
you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Vaughn.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Thank you.